today we're going to have more practice at solving equations with letters on both sides. If we have a look at this equation that we've got here, we see we've got x terms on both sides, and again we want to start by collecting these x terms onto one side of the equation. So we could either begin by subtracting 4x from each side to get rid of this 4x on the left hand side, or we could start by adding 2x to each side, which would get rid of this minus 2x on the right hand side. But remember, we always want to try and keep the x term positive. So if we subtracted 4x from each side, then we're going to end up with a negative x term on the right hand side, which we don't really want. So the better thing to do is to add the 2x to each side. Okay, so let's just work through this one. And I'm actually going to show you both methods and show you which one is better. Okay, so let's just put a line down the middle. I don't want you to write this one down. You can just watch. So let's start with what I said was the better strategy. So let me write out the equation again. So we want to keep the x terms positive, so I'm going to start by adding 2x to each side. It gives rid of the minus 2x on the right. Now carry on as usual. So we end up with x equals 2. So this is the preferred way to do it. So I'll just show you what would happen if we did start by subtracting the 4x from each side first instead. So I still want to get rid of the letter terms on one side so I can combine all the letter terms together. So mathematically it is also correct. I could subtract this 4x first. So let's see what happens. So on the left I'd be left with the minus 4. Remember, don't drop that minus. On the right we just need to be really careful with our negatives here. I've got minus 2x. Remember, that minus belongs to that 2x. I've got minus 2x minus 4x. So that's going to give me minus 6x. So now I'm going to get rid of this 8. So this is 8 is added because it's got a plus in front of it. We haven't got any sign written there, so it's plus 8. So I need to subtract 8 from both sides. So now I've got minus 4 minus 8. So again, if we think of our number line, that's going to give me minus 12 equals minus 6x. Mustn't forget not to drop this minus. Can you see all these minuses everywhere in this one? Now I need to get rid of this minus 6 in front of this x, so I need to divide both sides by minus 6. So I can remember now that that's going to get rid of that minus 6 multiplied by the x there. Minus 12 divided by minus 6, a minus divided by a minus is a positive, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I get the same answer, but the reason that we do not want to be doing this method is because of all the minus signs going on, and we're much more likely to make a mistake with all those negatives. So we've got to remember we don't want to have minuses in front of our x terms. So we want to be starting off with the first step of our equation to end up with positive x terms. Okay, so this one I'd like you to write down again. You can again use the printed note sheets or just write it into your exercise book. So we're going to start with the letter terms, we always do, and we want to keep them positive. So I'm going to start by adding 2x to each side, because that's going to give me a plus 6x on the left, and I'm just left with 2 on the right. Now I'm going to get rid of the plus 17 by subtracting 17. So that gives me 6x is equal to 2 take away 17, that gives me minus 15. So this one, now I've got to divide both sides by 6. can't do 15 divided by 6 and get a whole number, so I'm going to leave my answer as a top-heavy fraction. So I've got a minus divided by a plus, minus 15 divided by plus 6, so overall my answer is negative. And then I've got 15 divide 6. What I can do though is simplify that answer by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 3. So I get x is minus 5 over 2. Let's look at one more again where we've got brackets. So just like yesterday, we're going to start by expanding the brackets. So we haven't started solving the equation yet, just getting it ready to solve. Now, I want to end up with a positive amount of x's, so think about, am I going to add the 4x first or add the 8x first? To get a positive amount of x's, I need to start by adding the 8x, adding the bigger amount of x. So it gives me 10. Now remember, this minus belongs to this 4x. So I've got minus 4x plus 8x. So that's going to give me plus 4x equals 16, because I've got rid of that minus 8x. Now I want to get rid of this plus 10. Remember, I know it's a plus because nothing in front of it means it's a positive number. So subtract 10. So I get 4x is equal to 6. Final step, divide by 4. Again, I can see I'm going to end up with a fraction answer. So I get x equals 6 divided by 4, which I can simplify to x is 3 over 2. So again, work from your textbook. Choices are start on the challenge or the super challenge and then progress onto the hyper challenge.